Hello guys. So I was asked to make a comparison between Armel and Elaine. So which one is the best and when should you be using one or the other? So when we're looking at this, you need to know first of all that Elaine has her E and Armel doesn't have hers. So she will get stronger and this is going to be one of her major issues because as she doesn't have EE stats, her speed is quite low when you actually use her. She's only at around 110 in game. Yeah, for me that's low because my Balteon's at 135. Okay, guys, it's low. Now let's start looking at what the difference is. They're gonna have pretty much the same active, but currently Elaine's active also decreases defense and is 10% stronger, while Armel's lowers life. For PvE, Armel's is much more powerful, at least in my opinion. For PvP, I'm going to say Elaine tends to be a little bit stronger, but again, we're waiting for the EE. We don't know how it's going to change Armel's. I think they might just be increasing the damage increase though, so it's still going to be pretty much the same, but it is honestly pretty decent. Now, Elaine, what you're going to notice is what she's going to do is increase attack power a lot. In total, she can increase it by 95%, and she's going to be able to increase critical rate by 50%. Those are not some bad values. They're pretty good. The only thing you want to look out for is that the stacks don't last that long. So you're going to want her to be fast enough whenever the ball comes back to the front to be able to use them to move again and again and again. But luckily, she does have an insanely high speed, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Um, then we're going to be looking at her gauge. She also produces a little bit of pass effect, 15% to 45% on free stacks. Again, you got to make her fast. Now, the big difference between her and Armel is really going to hit when you look at the last skill. Elaine is increased reflex and decrease incoming damage when being attacked. Now, this is why you're going to be putting her facing the center position, while Armel is going to be on the sides because Armel's skill is decrease the damage by 30% and recover life by 20%. Now, this is also when stealing, so she's able to steal without any risks of dying or helping the opposing team stop her from moving and blah, blah, blah. But what's also pretty damn good about this is that if you put her on either of the sides, they have one side, the striker, who they can't penetrate from. They have Armel on the side, who's honestly super tanky. I think up to COD 43, they weren't able to kill her in front line. It was really funny to watch. I would just let her ball hold. And then in center, you're going to have, well, your passer. And the thing is, your passer is going to die. But who are they hitting next? Your center mid, who usually I'm imagining is Celestia, Metatron, Felix. There's a long list. We all know exactly why I'm mentioning those guys because they're the ones we're waiting. And that's when they're helping your team once again by forcing them to hit your center mid. So this is kind of why, in my opinion, Armel tends to be better in the sense of her last skill. Elaine, again, is going to be able to reflex steal with a higher probability, but if she doesn't, she's going to die. Well, Armel doesn't really care, and she's going to have another way of giving reflex, who's going to be given to the entire line. Also, I'm somehow able to reach with her free stacks, Vonchi 2.8k reflex. Don't ask me how. I've stopped asking questions when I saw it. You want to notice that Elaine's skills have smaller stack times than Armel, so Armel's kind of better in that way. She is pretty slow. I think last time I checked, 110 speed or 120 was around there. For me, that's slow because my line's faster than that. 130, 170 is around what my front line does, so it is slow to me. Hopefully with DE, she's going to be more powerful. And yes, she has some really OP speed stubs, so it is kind of low. Now, why I think that Armel is better is because of 1,000 Shades of Torture, increased penetration by 20%, action speed by 20%. First of all, I run Vonchi, so automatically that makes her the ultimate leader for Vonchi. But imagining you're not running Vonchi, I'm going to ask you why later on, but if you're not running Vonchi, 20% penetration is much more powerful than 95% attack power for a simple reason. Attack power gets blocked by DR, plus you got other things buffing your attack power, so they multiply and they don't really add up in a proper way. While penetration is going to be reducing the damage decrease, who's much more powerful. So especially if you have a striker that already has penetration, if you're stacking them, this will be able to counter the Duran and the dense magma that you're going to be seeing on a lot of presties. So basically, Elaine is pretty much more you're missing crit. You don't have a striker that has attack power, and you just want a player that already has an EE. Well, Armel, in my opinion, is a better investment on long term. She can pretty much do everything that Elaine can do, but her real difference is the way she blocks, and her line buff was completely broken. Now, again, it's up to you. Just if you're running Vonchi, It's Armel. If you don't want to or you're trying to do a COD, a lot of people prefer Elaine. It's up to you as always, but they're honestly two pretty good choices. I think that that skill is going to tip when Armel gets an EE because they're already pretty much matched when one doesn't have it. Have a good day, guys.